Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And SandyClaws. Hey, everyone.
And tonight, we're talking Mr. Banks on a special edition of the Creator Games Profile Series. This is Season 2, Episode 2 of the Creator Games Profile Series, everyone. Sandy, oh my god, you should see the turnout that we got for the first project of the Creator Games. Like, really, they are kicking some butt here. They are really doing a great job. We have, you know what, I haven't even really gotten a chance to really look over the projects. All I know is the length of them and the extent of research and the effort that looks like it's put into all these projects are incredible. It looks like we're off to a great start with the actual Imagineering turnout of this competition that we're theming all this around. So definitely,
awesome.
Yeah, Sandy, if you have a chance, go in and look at it. We might actually... I definitely want to get some project reviews in the next couple days for those as well. But so, like I said last night, the concept for that project was to design a land based on an unbuilt Imagineering concept. And the concept of unbuilt Imagineering concept, concepts inside of concepts, Sandy, it's like Inception up in here. That's what we're going to be talking about, though. We're going to be talking about unbuilt Imagineering concept. We're going to be playing buy or sell. Sandy, you are going to be the banker. I'm going to be the one pitching these to you. I'm also going to be pitching like, okay, here's why this would be good. Also, here's why it would be potentially a risk and what you would have to kind of sacrifice in order to make it happen in this kind of weird alternate universe we're playing in. Okay. Last night, some of the big hits were like the Great Muppet Movie Ride, Western River Expedition. Let's see. Remember any other, Sandy, that you really liked?
I like the Tower of Terror, but that one was kind of
You liked Hotel Mel, but overall it was a sell because you didn't want to take the Tower of Terror over it.
Yeah.
That was a hard one. I think that was the hardest sell of the evening.
Oh yeah, and then of course, I ended up going back on the Toontown. Downtown Toontown.
Sure.
That was a buy.
And then I think uniformly our worst concept was Disney's America in either Virginia right next to Washington, D.C., or buying out Knott's Berry Farm. Either one is a terrible option for different reasons.
Yes.
But overall, a lot of fun discussion. So we got some of the heavy hitters out of the way. We kind of ended on the big Mark Davis duo of Western River Expedition and also the Journey to the Ice Palace, which were both big hits. So, Sandy, I have a list of these unbuilt concepts. I'm going to let you kind of roll with the flow here and just pick which direction we go with this. We've got a list of maybe, I don't know, Sandy, I haven't counted, but maybe about 10 to 15. So we'll try and go through all of them in about an hour and a half or so, make this a nice, fun conversation. So go ahead, Sandy, Start us off.
Now, I'm noticing you have Nostromo. I think that's how you pronounce it, on there twice.
I mentioned that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I tried to clarify that before we began. Yeah, it wasn't meant to be there twice.
Okay. All right. Well, I think one you were interested in, and something I'm personally interested in too, is Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers.
Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is definitely one of the more popular unbuilt Imagineering concepts, although it's also one of the interesting ones where elements of it definitely got worked into other attractions. So, Sandy, the big reason why Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers didn't actually get built was sadly because the movie was a bomb. And look, I've seen clips of the movie. I actually want to go back and watch the whole movie again because I think I'd like it. I've seen clips of it, and it's very stylish. It's very... it's got a lot of noir elements, and I love me some noir. I love Humphrey Bogart and Maltese Falcon and all that good stuff. And that kind of takes those concepts to a big kind of high-end comic book place. And so I personally think I'd like the movie, and I think the atmosphere would translate well into an attraction. Here's the interesting thing about this attraction, Sandy. You were actually going to use guns in this. Not real guns. It would be like Buzz Lightyear. But the idea is you're kind of like shooting at mobsters and stuff instead of shooting at aliens. Yeah. So that's kind of where you can see where Disney would be a little hesitant on this concept.
I like the concept. But yeah, I can see why Disney wouldn't like it very much.
And keep in mind, like, the villains of Dick Tracy were very stylized too, so they were technically human, but you had villains like Hammerhead, who had like a hammer-shaped head, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I imagine Disney would definitely go out of its way to stylize it as much as possible. Sandy, let me talk about the real estate of this and what we might have to get rid of to make this happen. I'm guessing if this happened, it would have gone into Hollywood studios around the same time as Tower of Terror. They were looking for a complement right to the Tower of Terror. So I'm guessing if we built Dick Tracy's Crime Star... Actually, wait, no. I'm getting my timelines mixed up here because this is like actually back in the 80s. So, darn it. Well, Sandy, I kind of want to just have this game where we sacrifice something, even though Rock and Roller Coaster was ways off. Let's just figure that Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers goes into Rock and Roller Coaster's location, and therefore we don't have that footprint to work with, and Rock and Roller Coaster doesn't become a thing. And that's kind of stretching it, Sandy. I admit that's stretching it, but it's stretching it just for the sake of the game and the hypothetical and all that. So, anyways, Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers, like I said, pros of it are definitely... You've got the cool comic book environment to work with, stylized characters. Cons of it, the movie itself was a big flop. And the idea of shooting humans, no matter how stylized they are, might not be the most questionable. I can see that working in Universal just fine. Disney, I don't know. So, Sandy, what are your thoughts?
Well, Rock and Roller Coaster, you said that's where it would go.
I'm honestly mostly just having that as a placeholder, just to put something at stake.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say bye on this because I think
I didn't expect you to.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not too familiar with Rock and Roller Coaster. Could you give me a little bit of a back of a?
Well, I don't want you to put too much stock in Rock and Roller Coaster because, like I said, I'm just kind of like putting that there as a placeholder. I really have no in reality. I really don't know if it would have gone into Rock and Roller Coaster's place or not.
Well, yeah. The thing is, so with, Disney and guns don't really go together.
They used it well in Astro Blasters, but keep in mind that was blasting alien scum.
And with like cartoon guns and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what kind of guns they would have with this, like little pistols or big rifles or something.
There actually is concept art of it, and it looked like it would be maybe like kind of Tommy gun type things, like mini Tommy guns attached to the cars.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say bye on this because
all right.
I think if pulled off right, then it can be a really fun attraction. Of course, that would be a great influence to little kids, trying like shooting mobsters. But hopefully there aren't, mobsters in everyday life for people to shoot.
Now, what do you think of the dilemma of the fact that the movie was a flop? How would you explain that to look, the movie's a flop, but...
The movie's a flop, but the ride is really good. So we're going to put everything we have into the ride and make that really good. And maybe that can boost some popularity with the movie for people who haven't seen it yet. And, in a decade or so, if the ride's still around, people will remember the ride for being, this a really great ride, like the Matterhorn, like we were talking about last night. And
I don't
not remember the movie.
On the mountain. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. So I'd say, yeah, definitely buy.
Okay. And also, Sandy, I think another good example would be Splash Mountain, where the company is literally doing everything it can to bury the source material that Splash Mountain's based off of, in spite of the fact that that's like one of the most popular e-ticket attractions ever. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, so that's a buy on Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers. Sandy, where are we going next?
Let's go with Herbie the Love Bug.
Oh, boy. I still can't really believe this was a thing. So, Sandy, this was going to be a Fantasyland attraction. Where you would take place in the glorious, far-off land of, wait for it, Sandy, the place that I'm traveling to tomorrow, as I do 3 times a week on commute, San Francisco, California! And
Exciting.
join Herbie the Love Bug on a madcap journey through the twisted hills and historic landmarks of San Francisco. Probably, I'm guessing, maybe Don Knotts and Mickey Rooney will be involved in some way. This was in the early planning stages of New Fantasyland, Sandy, before they had it locked down to be Pinocchio's Daring Journey, an attraction that I don't know about you personally, Sandy. This might just be like a big old subjective thing, but I think Pinocchio works a lot better with the whole Swiss village archetype that they were going for than San Francisco does.
I think maybe if they put this in California Adventure, I think it'd work better.
You know what? Now that you mentioned it, I would love this in California Adventure, because California Adventure doesn't have anything related to San Francisco, which pisses me off.
Yeah, and I guess there were Herbie movies, right?
Oh, there were like 8 of them.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that might be an exaggeration, but not too much of an exaggeration.
Yeah, then I think it should definitely go in California Adventure. But of course, this is not for a California Adventure pitch. This is for Fantasyland.
By the time California Adventure got around, we were like, like it was like the Lindsay Lohan Herbie, and that didn't work out.
Exactly.
Well. Yeah. So if they were to pitch a Herbie California Adventure attraction, I don't. As much as I think it would personally fit, like if California Adventure was built in the 70s, it fit amazingly well. Hell, I even think it fit probably well with Main Street. I don't know, like we were talking about like the idea of doing like a side street to Main Street, if Edison Square and Liberty Street, or Edison Square and Liberty Street, we're talking about that. So I actually think if they did like a San Francisco side street, that would work. Just not Fantasyland.
Not Fantasyland, for the love of God, please no.
Fantasyland is that within the castle borders, nothing in the real world should be there.
Exactly, and that's what I was talking about last night. Reality meeting fantasy. People don't want to see that, and of course, Pinocchio does fit a lot better. I think if they ever were to make, which I don't. My best judgment would have to say they're not going to make a street off Main Street anytime soon, especially San Francisco or the Edison.
Can I just go on a rant, a San Francisco non-California Adventure rant, just because I just want to go off for a second. So, Sandy, as much as I love California Adventure, as much as I love it, they literally took away the two things that strongly connected the park to San Francisco. They took away the Golden Gate Bridge entrance, which I'm in favor for. I think the Pan Pacific Auditorium looks a lot better than the tacky strip mall Golden Gate Bridge. Honestly, I never liked the look of the Golden Gate Bridge. Personally, having been to the Golden Gate Bridge many, many times, you can't, like, just looking at that dopey little thing, it was just like, no, that is like not even close to the Golden Gate Bridge, But then the thing that I'm a little bit more peeved about is that they turn the Palace of Fine Arts recreation into just a generic rotunda for the entrance to the Little Mermaid attraction. And I'm like, you took away the one other landmark that would have been good. It's like, boom, we're in San Francisco. Hey, San Francisco. And now the only thing they have is like, look, we have like 3 buildings that vaguely look like San Francisco buildings. It's where the bathrooms are. Yeah, you're welcome, San Francisco people. Fuck you.
Honestly, that's what it seems like.
Honestly,
you go to San Francisco to take a dump.
Yeah, San Francisco is just a couple colorful buildings and a toilet. California Adventure, everyone. The city that basically like founded our state for all intents and purposes, the city where most people who live in this state now, their ancestors like fled gold rush, It's not like the gold rush was like one of the big founding things of the state or anything. I'm sorry, Sandy. I'm going on a tangent.
That's okay. I understand where you're coming from. being not living in California, I don't feel as strong about it, but I definitely feel where you're coming from. But to end things off here, I'm gonna have to say sell on this Herbie thing because Herbie ride in Fantasyland. Now, if this was for California Adventure, or some side street off Main Street, then I'd say yeah, this is. Wait, did I say buy or sell?
You said sell. You said sell.
Okay, yeah. Then if it was some other idea like California Adventure, the side street, then yeah, that'd be a buy. But Fantasyland, that just doesn't work, and I think anyone with their right mind on their Disney knowledge and Disneyland knowledge would agree on that.
Okay, so we got one buy and one sell so far. What are we gonna do next, Sandy?
Oh, the Museum of the Weird. That's definitely one.
I'm still sad that this never got made.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, Museum of the Weird, the great creation by Rolly Crump. Essentially, what Rolly Crump did, the backstory on this is that he did a lot of outlandish, bizarre designs based on the black and white short film of Beauty and the Beast. Actually, I don't know if it's a short film or not. I just know it's a French film. It's a black and white French film from the 1900s, actually, Sandy. So this dates way back. A big standpoint of that film was actually the fact that a lot of the architecture had arms and legs and stuff, and not like anthropomorphic like the Beauty and the Beast was in the Disney version, but more just kind of like horrific, like, oh, this chair just has a random arm sticking out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like the basis for the Museum of the Weird concept. And Rolly Crump, he didn't really know that it was going to be the Museum of the Weird. He just designed it like as a pitch of like, hey, here's some cool stuff that we'd like to see in the Haunted Mansion. And Walt, he was just like, Rolly, what the hell is this? And this is actually a great story. This is a great story. So Rolly comes into work the next day, right? And Walt is still there, sitting, looking at this art. And he's like, you son of a bitch. I've been up all night thinking about this art, and it doesn't work with the attraction, but I can't keep my eyes off it. So I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have this Museum of the Weird, and it's going to be outside of the Haunted Mansion. It's going to be showcased like a traveling exhibit of bizarre and rare artifacts from all around the world that'll be collected and linked together in this showcase, and it'll be essentially like an exit walkway type thing. And Andy, I love that story because it just shows how much, Walt Disney was constantly just, he never let a good idea go to waste. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Unfortunately,
they're going as far as staying up all night just to think about this one idea.
Exactly. Right. Unfortunately, with the Museum of the Weird, it kind of got left on the sidelines because of Walt Disney's unfortunate death in 1966, which was still a few years off of the actual creation of the Haunted Mansion. And the Haunted Mansion got a lot more streamlined as the years went on. And the Museum of the Weird just didn't really have space to be fit. Now, Sandy, honestly, I'm kind of trying to rack my brain. I really don't know, what you would have to sacrifice to put this there, because I know for a fact that there's backstage area behind the Haunted Mansion that literally doesn't get used that would be perfect to place something like this here.
Actually, I think I saw a video. It was people who did the full loop around, the Doom buggies. Yeah, and it looked like some kind of break room back there or something. Like, screw that, take that out of there.
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about literally there's like a patch of land in between the mansion and like the actual show building of the mansion. In between like the exterior and the actual show building. Like, there's an actual, patch of land. I mean, you need employee break areas, Sandy. Come on now.
Well, yeah, I know.
Screw the cast members. They don't get a break area.
No, I was a little bit hard. I was harsh there. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just ribbing you, Sandy. It's all good.
I'm being serious. I'm just saying that, if there's a space that, you could expand, something and put in something like the Museum of the Weird, you can find somewhere else to put the cast member break room.
No, but I'm saying
sure.
you don't need to touch the cast member break room, Sandy. Forget
Okay.
about the cast member break room. There's
Okay.
more space
Okay.
besides the cast member break room.
Yeah, you know, I think that'd be really interesting. Like have this this permanent traveling gypsy cart sitting in the back of the mansion, and you traveling through traveling through this this really old abandoned looking area back behind the mansion, and maybe you could have some kind of hut. That'd be really interesting. I really think they should do that.
I still think they should do it. I still to this day think they should build it.
Because it's even though it's never built, I mean, Raleigh Crump's sculptures.
He's still alive. Yeah.
Yeah, his sculptures and illustrations, you know, they just have that timeless feel to them where they never get dated. Mm-hmm. And that could be around for, you know, decades and decades and decades. And it would never get old.
Something that would fit like the classic 1960s like golden age of Imagineering. You know what I mean? That sort of originality that we just don't see anymore.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know why they wouldn't, like, you know, Disney wouldn't consider, like the company wouldn't consider after the fact, you know, the mansion's been up and it's built now, you know, considering what Walt wanted to do with Raleigh and, you know, create the Museum of the Weird. I mean, that seemed like an idea Walt really liked.
I mean, I understand why they didn't do it in the wake of Walt's death and just wanting to get the attractions built, and it was like a big headache to even get that thing built because no one could agree on anything.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a whole backstory behind that, but
of course.
Yeah, but I think in this day and age, especially because Disney trivia and Disney fandom is like at an all-time fever pitch. Like, there's a reason there's so many people that crowd those parks now. You know, people know about this kind of stuff, Sandy. People know about Club 33. People know about the Hatbox Ghost. It's not just like these obscure facts that you can look up on, you know, on a weird fringe fan website. You know, it's like kind of common vernacular now in the Disney fandom. And
yeah.
I think in that way, the Museum of the Weird is definitely one of those things where even though it never existed, it's still, I think it's up there with Western River Expedition, and it would be a far less ambitious effort to actually implement into the park now than Western River Expedition would be. I mean, as much as I'd love to see Western River Expedition, you would need a lot of space for that. You know, it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Like that would I keep hoping that they build Western River Expedition into like a new park. Like, I honestly think Western River Expedition would have worked beautifully well into, like, let's say Hong Kong Disneyland. But I know Hong Kong Disneyland also had a lot of budget issues, and that park's very stripped down too. So, but anyways. So, okay, that's a big buy on Museum of the Weird. Yeah, huge thumbs up.
That is. All right. So let's see here. I'm not hearing any cha-ching or wah.
And I just don't feel like going back and forth, in all honesty.
It's fine. I'm just pointing that out. Let's go with.
Actually, since you have the list in front of you, and I don't even have to look at the list, I can actually do that. Let me pull it up. I'll do that for the future.
Let's see. Let's go with. Discovery Bay / Dumbo Circus Land. Okay. Is that all one?
Yeah, it's all one. Yeah,
it is. Okay.
Okay, this is interesting, Sandy, because you know what you're gonna have to give up to implement this?
What's that?
You're gonna have to give up Star Wars Land.
I really don't care. I feel bad saying it, but I don't care.
Okay, well, yeah, Star Wars Land is going to have to go for this because there's not going to be any space for... This is basically what Star Wars Land would have been if they would have actually built it back in the 80s in terms of just the actual location. And I think it would have been as ambitious as Star Wars Land as well. So essentially the idea behind Discovery Bay is it would have been a Jules Verne-styles land. There would have been a boat ride with dinosaurs. There would have been a time machine, audio animatronics show. I believe there would have been an Around the World in 80 Days dark ride or something like that.
Oh.
All kinds of different Jules Verne concepts. And then on the fringes of it, you'd have Dumbo Circus, which would kind of relate, that would kind of like tie back into Fantasyland, but it'd have this kind of this quality of the old timey kind of like Something Wicked This Way Comes style circus, with the tents and everything. And it essentially all it'd be is like a big kind of expansion to the Casey Jr. and Dumbo area, essentially giving it more space. I'm assuming probably like giving a second flat ride of Dumbo like they have in at Walt Disney World now. They actually built Dumbo Circus Land in Walt Disney World, Sandy, for New Fantasyland. So this is a concept that technically unbuilt in Disneyland, they actually did implement into New Fantasyland. And an interesting thing about that is, much like with Discovery Bay, Dumbo Circus Land was kind of a side area of the bigger Dumbos, of the bigger New Fantasyland, which the bigger New Fantasyland would be, stuff like the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and the Beauty and the Beast restaurants and Ariel's Undersea Adventure. And then you have Dumbo Circus Land. It's like, okay, we're also going to plus this up a little and connect it more. So Discovery Bay, Sandy, unfortunately, I should have done a little bit more research into exactly what it would have been. I don't actually think there's a ton of detail on it from what I know. Like I said, the big two that I'm sure of is that we would have had the time machine, we would have had the dinosaur boat ride, and I'm not really sure if that had time travel involved with it or not. I want to say it was kind of a Lost World style, like, you're exploring a world at a time, where dinosaurs survived somehow. And then I want to say the time machine definitely, of course, was meant to play on the time travel element more.
When you mentioned dinosaurs and time travel and all this stuff, and I thought of the primeval world from the Disneyland Railroad. I think that'd be really interesting, having like a bunch of animatronic dinosaurs, but instead of going past them behind a sheet of glass, you're actually traveling through the actual world with dinosaurs all around you. I also think it's a really interesting idea, having like a time travel boat ride. That sounds really interesting. I've never seen anything like that. Which I'm not sure if that's what you're getting at, but...
Well, like I said, I think the boat ride itself would have been just more dinosaurs, and then the time travel would have come from the time machine, and the time machine would have been like an animatronic show.
Okay, that seems a lot more original, than Star Wars Land, obviously. Which I know this was long before Star Wars Land, but
Star Wars Land is going to make so much money.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. That's all they care about. It's money, making money. And of course, they have, the creative people behind everything as well. But that's, in the end, that's what they want. It's money. You've got to have money.
You've got to have money.
So, I'm going to have to say bye.
Okay.
I have to say bye on this. It just sounds too interesting to pass up, especially, I feel bad saying, pass up Star Wars Land, but it's not original. And, of course we're going to see some really cool things, and it is going to make lots and lots and lots of money, which I know they love. But
even though it's technically not an original IP, it is set on an original planet, so I give it that credit.
Yeah.
Like, actually, when I actually one of my favorite kind of predictive moments of So You Want to Be an Imagineer of the podcast was Adventure Blue Dude and I talking about the possibility of Star Wars Land and saying it would be great if they did it as like an original planet that we've just never seen before and just have like a blank slate to just go nuts with it, instead of like, oh, it's going to be Tatooine the land, or Endor the land, or Hoth the land, or even like an amalgamation of those things. And and to their credit, arguing just for Star Wars, to their credit, that's exactly what they're doing. They the land itself is going to be a blank slate planet on the outer rim of the galaxy that we've never been to before. That is essentially going to open up the Imagineers to do whatever the hell they want with, and not have to conform to any pre-established design that we've had so far.
Yeah, I think that's great. But I still rather go with the time travel dinosaur boat ride type thing. That sounds like more of a, original idea by Walt, which I know wasn't, but it sounds more of like something he would have wanted.
Actually, this was another great Tony Baxter concept. So yeah.
Yeah. See,
Okay. So that's a buy on Discovery Bay. I don't think we're going to make that much money off of Discovery Bay, though, Sandy. I'm still worried.
Oh, well, it's not going to happen anyways.
I know, right? Okay, so where are we going next?
The Rainbow Road to Oz.
Rainbow Road to Oz. Okay, this is a tricky one, man. This is a tricky one. Essentially, it was just like a licensing nightmare. This was like, Sandy, this was, forget about Star Wars, okay? This was the very first non-Disney film that Walt Disney himself wanted to incorporate into Disneyland. Like, we're not talking an adaptation of L. Frank Baum. We're talking like he really wanted a Wizard of Oz, like an MGM Wizard of Oz dark ride in the park. And so, Sandy, this raises a few interesting questions. Much like a lot of other Fantasyland developments, I think the land where this eventually would have ended up is just kind of behind Storybook Land, and the land where they have the Fantasyland Theater now, which, as much as people seem to like Mickey's Magical Map, the umpteenth show of like, hey, let's recycle like Whole New World and Under the Sea and Let It Go and all those other songs that you've heard a million times. You like those songs, Sandy? You want to hear them again? Good. You'll get them in Mickey's Magical Map. No, in all seriousness, though, Sandy, I think kind of the big question is, was Disneyland ready for a non-Disney IP at that point in their history? Were they ready for that? Because this would have been the 1950s. This was way far back. This was one of the earliest concepts for Disneyland that was never built, that was actually conceived after the park itself was built. And the road to Oz, you can kind of just picture in your head, they would have the Munchkin Land, the poppy fields, the giant trees, the Emerald City, the Wicked Witch, and the flying monkeys,
Yeah.
But of course, not Disney. So, and now keep in mind, Sandy, technically everything in the park, I want to say everything in the park is an original Disney IP now, because Indiana Jones is now a Disney IP. Star Wars, of course, is a Disney IP. And
yeah, but those aren't originals, though.
No, I know, but I'm just saying on a technical level. Oh, yeah. And then, look, I'm just kind of like, and then Tower of Terror, rest in peace. That's now going to be Guardians of the Galaxy, Disney IP. Yeah. Tower of Terror was like the last of like non-Disney IP in Disneyland. Anyway, Sandy, so what's your take on this?
I'm just going to say right off the bat, Cell.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not an original Disney product, and like you said, licensing. Straight away I wouldn't really bother with licensing with this. I wouldn't bother with anything because I wouldn't want to do it. It just sounds like kind of hokey. Like the location seems off. You had all back in the day. You had like everything in the park was original Disney stuff, and I think that having something like this, even though it'd be first time going out on a limb, I don't think it'd be worth it. Honestly, I guess that's the right way to word it. I honestly I just don't like the idea. I think it's it just doesn't appeal to me. I know it would appeal to other people. Other people would be like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." But no, I just don't think it fits.
Okay, so that's a sell on. So, are you not a fan of the Oz IP, or I kind of just want to ask because I'm curious. Or what is your take on the Oz IP in general?
Well, I think The Wizard of Oz is a great film. It's one of the best films of all time. The MGM one I'm talking about. I haven't seen Return to Oz. I'm not sure I will. I don't really care about it, but I
think one of the best films ever made is Oz the Great and Powerful with James Franco. I mean, come on.
Oh, that is a great film. I saw that in the theater.
No, it was okay. I'm being sarcastic.
Oh yeah, I think it was a good film. I think it was a good film. I don't think it's one of the best of all time, but anyways, I just think in my lifetime, at least, I've been exposed to the original MGM Oz film way too much. I mean, I was in a play. I've seen the movie a billion times.
Yeah, that's my problem with it too.
You see it a lot. I walk into Hallmark. That's one of my favorite places to go. That's like I see Wizard of Oz everywhere. It's one of those things that it's never died, and it shouldn't die. But the film is one of those things that, we can watch maybe once or twice, and then go a little while. At least for someone like me, that's the way I feel about it. I can't watch it over and over and over again like some people can. So yeah, I like the film. It's really good, and I'm sure I'd appreciate it more if I wasn't, if I didn't see it all over the place, so much. But anyways,
I've got that Christmas Story, right? Kind of that sort of syndrome going for it.
That's pretty similar. I've never really. I've seen the Christmas Story. We own it. Yeah, we own it on VHS. But it's not the same thing for me, but because I was just actually introduced to that movie. I watched the first time I watched it was only a few years ago, and I've been watching Wizard of Oz for years. So, I'll watch Wizard of Oz like maybe once every third year. Every 3 years I'll watch it maybe, but I just see it everywhere.
So, Sandy, the things we have left, we're getting through these pretty quick. We have Nostromo, the Life Health Pavilion, the Swiss Pavilion, Beastly Kingdom, Geyser Mountain, and the Fireworks Factory. So where do you want to go?
Geyser Mountain.
Geyser Mountain. Okay, this is another thing that would have taken the space of Star Wars Land. I don't necessarily know if it was... I don't think it was part of the Discovery Bay concept. I think it was after Discovery Bay. It was going to be like in the 90s. This would have... now, I assume it wouldn't have taken the entire footprint of Star Wars Land, but it would have taken, like, a good chunk of it. This was essentially going to be the Tower of Terror, except the idea is that you were drilling into a geyser in the Old West, and it would have been right next to Thunder Mountain. So you would have had, like, kind of two Old West-themed thrill rides right next to each other, one maybe being a little bit more extreme than the other one. Like Thunder Mountain being more of the family ride, this being more of the thrill seeker ride. And so with Geyser Mountain, you would have taken vehicles very similar to, I don't know if you're familiar with the Journey to the Center of the Earth ride at Tokyo Disney Sea, but very similar to that, where it's it's kind of like mining vehicles, like where you have like a drill attached to the end of the vehicles just for thematic effect mostly, but so you basically were like drilling into this geyser, into this giant mountain with a volcanic style geyser inside of it. And then you got to the center and you would have experienced a geyser eruption that would have sent you into a Tower of Terror drop sequence where your drill would have actually gone up and then risen up out of the crates of the mountain up above Frontierland, getting a view of Frontierland, and then going down like a drop sequence. So what do you think of that?
I think that sounds really cool. You did compare it to what's it? Big Thunder Mountain?
Well, it would have definitely been a companion piece to Big Thunder Mountain, I feel, because it would have been right next to Big Thunder Mountain. As a matter of fact, I'm sure they probably would have tied it into like the whole mythology of of like Rainbow Ridge and the Big Thunder Mining Company and all that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like the backstory of the ride involved the Big Thunder Mining Company. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I've heard about this one before, and I I think that sounds really cool. Like going into a geyser and then coming up and getting a full view of Frontierland. That sounds really interesting. And for me, I love Old West stuff. Like Old West stuff never really gets old for me. Like that's a huge reason why I love Knott's Berry Farm so much is because of the Western element. and it's not like Disneyland. It's like
what would be great is if Knott's Berry Farm just straight up like rip this off and put it there.
They should do that, or just something really similar.
Because it would totally fit in Knott's Berry Farm. It would be a perfect addition to Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah. I don't think they have room, but
they would have had room before they put in Voyage to the Iron Reef. That's the thing.
Because
they had the Kingdom of the Dinosaur show building sitting there for a long time, and that's where you would have ideally put Geyser Mountain. It's right there. That would have been like the perfect spot. But now Voyage to the Iron Reef is there.
Yeah, at first I was At first I was excited about it because I heard there was some kind of Kraken in it, but it's just a projection show, isn't it?
I mean, it's actually better in person, to tell you the truth. Yeah. It works better in person. There's some cool kind of transitions. There's some cool physical... There's some cool physical sets. There's like a giant mechanical squid. So, like, I don't necessarily think it works all that well, but they did spend a lot of money on it, and it's a very new attraction, so I don't think it's going away anytime soon either.
Yeah, let's just say they didn't put that one there. They should do it. But anyways, moving back to Disney.
So unfortunately, because of Star Wars Land, like I can't. The only location I could see is, could you imagine this going in between? Because I have it on good authority from, I won't name my source, but I have it on good authority that there's enough backstage space that you could easily fit an Indiana Jones style show building in between the Haunted Mansion and Splash Mountain show buildings. Sandy, could you imagine Geyser Mountain going in between Splash Mountain and the Haunted Mansion?
That'd be great.
Right? Like it'd be just as good of a transition with Splash Mountain as it would be with Thunder Mountain. It might be even better because Splash Mountain's a water ride. This has a water melt element in it with the geysers.
Yeah, that'd be great. And they could even make a whole new story for it. I mean, like add new characters and stuff like that. I'm not talking about full decking it out with like animatronics. I'm just saying making new characters and putting them in. I mean,
they could always use the sea stuff. The Society of Explorers and Adventurers. Like Barnabas T. Billion, people like that.
Or like maybe I don't think they would do this, but like work in some Haunted Mansion type mythology with it or something. I don't know.
You see, if they did that, I'd rather they do Big Thunder, because I think it just even if Big Thunder was across the river from this, it'd still, I think, work better with Big Thunder, with like the Big Thunder mining.
But I don't know what if it was all tied in together, which is, I guess that's what they have in Paris.
In Paris, and it works incredibly well in Paris, so they should do it. Again, Tony Baxter. Thank you, Tony.
I'd rather not have them touch the mansion at all, honestly.
Sure.
But if they could fit this in Disneyland, they should definitely do it. They should have definitely done this. It sounds like a great idea. And if again, Star Wars Land, I don't care very much for that. It's just going to cause a big cluster in the park when it opens. And
oh, yes, it will. Yes, it will. Oh, it'll be fun. It'll be fun, Sandy. There will be lines going down Main Street just to get in it.
People stepping on each other and crushing their skulls.
It'll be such a good time. It'll be such a good time. I can't
big mobs of people with pitchforks and torches.
And then annual pass holders just complaining that it's too crowded. And okay, I shouldn't talk too badly about annual pass holders, but
and anyways, Geyser Mountain, that's a buy.
That's a buy. Okay, we only have a few more left. Sandy, where are we going?
Let's go with the Swiss Family Pavilion.
It's not Swiss Family Pavilion. It's just the Swiss Pavilion.
Oh, it's a Swiss. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was a Swiss Family Robinson.
This will go by really quick. There's actually several unbuilt World Showcase pavilions. Mostly the reason why they were never built is because they couldn't get funding and sponsorship for them, which all pavilions in EPCOT are kind of founded on. But I'm sticking with the Swiss Pavilion because I think it's the most interesting and kind of the one where we have the most info about it. Now, Sandy, keep in mind, the thing with EPCOT, the thing that people just, it absolutely annoys everyone. I'm sure, I couldn't imagine it being like a park that I visit often and going to it, and like it annoys me. I couldn't imagine if I went to it often how much it would annoy me just seeing it in person. But there's basically just large chunks of EPCOT that are just undeveloped. Just literally, they're like fields, just large chunks that are just sitting there. Oh, EPCOT! Oh my God! I mean, when we talk about the Life Health Pavilion, we'll also talk about a space in EPCOT that just simply isn't being used. We'll get into that.
And I know there's a lot of that kind of same thing in Tomorrowland and Disneyland, where there's just spaces that aren't being used or used well, you know?
I mean, Tomorrowland, it's more the spaces aren't being used well, and it's honestly more that the whole land doesn't really come together. It's more just like, hey, Star Wars! You like Star Wars? We don't care about Walt's theme of, like visions of the future. It's Star Wars. Honestly, Sandy, there's not really a ton of space in Tomorrowland. Like you have certain areas, like you have the Magic Eye Theater that right now is just like, hey, Star Wars, that you could do a lot more with. You have Innoventions that right now is just like, hey, Star Wars, that you could do a lot more with. You see a running pattern here.
Like anyone, like anytime talking on the podcast about Tomorrowland, just say, hey, Star Wars, and then it's so bad. Hey, Star Wars.
And of course, the big problem that is like almost next to impossible to solve is the People Mover tracks. Because, yeah, the People Mover tracks are just like a big... I mean, they're literally like the first thing you see as you walk into the land from the hub.
Hey, Mom, what's that? No, that's nothing.
Don't worry about that. But it goes into Star Tours. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Oh, Sandy, I remember seeing that there the first time I went and just having basically the exact same experience that you just described. Oh, man. No, it's like, yeah, with the People Movers, the tracks are so old that it'd honestly probably be a little bit of a safety liability to even do anything with them.
Yeah.
But it'd cost too much money to take them out.
Well, they should do something with it. I mean, no.
They actually have done something with it. You know what they're using it for?
What's that?
Lighting!
Oh, well, at least they're doing something with it.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, yes. Like, well, they have lighting rigs on the tracks that, like, light the castle and, and Space Mountain and stuff like that.
That makes sense. All right, well,
anyways.
The Swiss Pavilion. Not the Swiss
I'm sorry.
Pavilion.
Wow, we got okay. So the Swiss Pavilion. So, Sandy, essentially, the main reason this was going to exist was to bring a clone of the Matterhorn bobsleds to EPCOT, and therein is what I want you to kind of talk over with me. Now, I personally think, as much as it's kind of a bummer that you would kind of take away the originality of the original Matterhorn, where it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be unique to Disneyland anymore. I personally think basically anything in EPCOT would help EPCOT. Like anything. Like that park is on life preserve right now. It's so bad. So, I mean, Frozen helped. It's still not enough. Anyways, oh dear. Yeah, So what do you think, Sandy? The Matterhorn. Would you like to see the Matterhorn in EPCOT or stick to Disneyland?
I wouldn't like to see the Matterhorn in EPCOT. Just stick to Disneyland. I mean, that's one of the big landmarks of Disneyland. And if you move it to Florida, it again, like you said, it loses the originality
Mhm.
of it in the first place. And I think something like the Matterhorn, of course, not the Matterhorn itself, or not some kind of mountain or anything, but something like the Matterhorn. I think, well, maybe a mountain, like
I mean, eventually they did Expedition Everest, so
yeah,
that's something.
yeah. So, yeah, that's a sell. That's a sell.
Okay, that's a okay. So where are we going next?
Are there any places on here people want to see specifically first?
Let's talk about Beastly Kingdom.
Okay.
So Beastly Kingdom would have been an Animal Kingdom. Camp Mini Mickey actually took its spot just basically because of budget cuts and concerns. Camp Mini Mickey is basically like, hey, you like Mickey and Minnie? You want to meet Mickey and Minnie? But it's basically like a ripoff of Toontown. And you like The Lion King? Yeah, this is the 90s. We love The Lion King. But we got a Lion King show.
Oh boy, let's go to that first.
Okay, Sandy. So Beastly Kingdom would have been a lot better. It would have essentially been 2 rides. You would have had the Wizard's Tower, which would have been oh god. No, I'm sorry. Sandy, I'm sorry. I really should have looked up more about these concepts. Like, I really should have refreshed myself more because it's just there's so many of them, folks. It's hard to keep track of all the minute details. I know there's something. No, I'm sorry. Okay, no, it's not the wizard. Scratch the wizard part. There would have been a roller coaster based on a dragon called the Dragon's Tower, which would have been, you would have had a climax with an audio animatronic dragon. And then you also had something involving a quest of unicorn and other mythological beasts and whatnot, but a unicorn was going to be like the focal point of the attraction. Okay, so yeah, it would have essentially been kind of like fairy tale mythology. And the idea, and if you look on the Animal Kingdom logo, you can even still to this day see a dragon in the Animal Kingdom logo and all the shadows of the different animals, the silhouettes. So, and of course now, Sandy, it's essentially their justification for Avatar. Was like, well, we were going to put dragons, so hey, Na'vi are animals, right?
I never saw that movie, so I wouldn't know what that even is.
They're the blue
yeah, the blue
American
Smurfs.
But Sandy, of course,
this would be in Florida, right?
Yeah, it would be an Animal Kingdom, of course. If you would implement this into Animal Kingdom, you would be getting rid of Mickey and Minnie. And God, come on, Sandy, are you really going to get rid of Mickey and Minnie?
we can put Mickey and Minnie somewhere else. I mean,
right?
It's a huge park. If they wanted to keep a specific place for Minnie and Mickey, they should have kept Toontown. Dang it!
Shots fired.
So yeah, just for the sake of that, that's me getting even with Disney. Just put that in there. Get rid of Minnie and Mickey.
All right, so that's. But personally, though, what do you? I feel like you're not fully committed to this, though.
Well, I think I hear dragons, and this whole concept here is kind of a blur.
It'd just be a bunch of dragons that are like, now you see the great thing about Captain America. It'd be a bunch of dragons talking about Captain America, Sandy. You see.
What?
Maybe some blue dragons.
Are you serious?
No, I'm trying to be funny, but you're not getting the joke.
Oh, I'm not getting. I'm sorry.
It'd be, maybe you'd have like some blue dragons, perhaps. Maybe 5 blue dragons talking about Captain America in Beastly Kingdom, perhaps.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting this joke.
I'm trying to make a Blue Dragon 5 reference.
Oh. Okay, I'm sorry.
Dragons,
I wasn't tying
Beastly
it all
Kingdom.
together.
I
always tie him with Batman, not Captain America. But
oh, I'm sorry. So essentially, imagine you're going up the lift hill. Imagine you're like going up this lift hill. You think you're going to see a dragon, and you just see Blue Dragon 5's avatar. And he's just like, well, you see, the reason why James Gordon is the best fictional character of all time. I'm sorry, Dragon. I love you. I love you. Oh man, I'm being mean. Anyways, so yeah, you're saying it's still a bit of a blur for you, though, the whole mythological creatures.
Yeah, but I do like mythology, and I like mythological creatures. I mean, I like Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot, and I love Nessie, and I love all that mythological stuff. Dragons are really cool. Unicorns are pretty cool. I think this would work. I think this would really give a new flavor to Animal Kingdom. It's not just regular animals you could see in real life. In reality, it's like stuff, different takes on animals, that may or may not have lived at one point in time.
And it wouldn't be an IP like Avatar that pretty much nobody cares about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, let's do it. That's a buy.
Okay. Buy for Beastly Kingdom. All right, Sandy. We're kind of running a little bit low on time here, so let me see if there's anything we can. Okay, let's see. We have Nostromo, we have the Fireworks Factory, we have the Health Pavilion. All right, let's crack them out really quick, Sandy.
All right, Nostromo.
Okay. Let's save Health Pavilion for last because that'll probably take the most time. Okay. So let's do Nostromo, then Fireworks Factory, then Life Health. Okay, right. So Nostromo, Sandy, very, very simple. This would basically be Alien Encounter, except the IP would have been directly tied to Alien. The Ridley Scott film. You would have seen a xenomorph in the tube instead of the original creation they came up with. They toned it down. But in toning it down, I think arguably they made a scarier attraction because at least with the xenomorph is kind of like, it's sort of ingrained in pop culture a little bit, whereas the Skippy animatronic isn't. And I think that's what makes the Skippy animatronic inherently more scary, is that you're not used to seeing that design everywhere, whereas if it would have just been a xenomorph, I think maybe at the time it maybe would have been a little scarier, but now I just think, especially in the wake of like Alien versus Predator, that that kind of stuff just really dumbed down the Alien design for me. But what do you think? Oh God! I'm sorry, Dragon. I love you, but do you know that Dragon actually likes that Stitch ride?
Oh, yeah, I don't blame him. I think it's really good. I think the original was better, but.
Oh,
what?
Oh, you're talking to a group of people that probably collectively hate Stitch's Great Escape.
Okay, well, I like Stitch. Let me say that. I like Stitch.
I like Lilo and Nani. Does that count?
You don't like Stitch? Oh, come on.
I can take or leave Stitch. Like I could honestly just watch a whole movie of like Lilo and Nani and Hawaiian family traditions and whatnot set against the watercolor backgrounds. I don't need the aliens. I'm kind of with a nostalgia critic on that one. But
I like Stitch. I don't like him as much as all the friggin' fangirls do, but I like Stitch. Well, this was about Alien Encounter, right?
Yeah, and the cool thing about Nostromo too was that it would have been set on the Nostromo. So imagine the spaceship that would have been the exterior in Tomorrowland would be the alien spaceship. So I think,
okay,
and that's honestly one of the things that I kind of, the whole convention center aspect of Alien Encounter, where it's like, oh, you're at a convention center, and there's this alien showing off, or there's this robot guy showing off teleportation technology, and he accidentally teleports an alien. I honestly think that's a little bit more, like, that's kind of where I'm leaning more towards Nostromo, where with Nostromo, like, in spite of perhaps the alien being less original, I think that the actual, like, okay, it's much more cut and dry. You know, it's like you're touring the ship, shit goes down, you're stuck in a room with the alien. You know, it's not like you're in this weird sort of like real, you know, galactic trade show thing, and you're seeing this demonstration that goes wrong, and we have portal technology, and I don't know, that's just like, as much as I love the original Alien Encounter, that's the one thing that's always bothered me about it, is that I don't think the whole like corporate espionage side of it needed to be there. I think if they would have toned it down, if they would have scaled it down to where, like I said, it's more just like, okay, you're on a ship, shit gets real, and go. So what do you think?
I like that
aspect.
I like that aspect of it. You know, just everything going wrong. And you know, being trapped in a room with some kind of creature. I like the original Alien from the original Alien Encounter, and I prefer that over the, you know, the Alien from the film, or Stitch. Definitely over Stitch.
Definitely Stitch. Yes, I think we can all agree to that.
I think the original one looks really cool, and it's, you know, again, it's original. It's not, you know, something based off something else. It's original, made for that ride. Which I think, like you said, I think it gives it that its own level of fear, because, you know, it's something you're not used to seeing.
Exactly. Right.
And for that reason, I'm gonna have to say sell on that idea, because, like, just in the end, the original Alien idea just wins for me, because, you know, it's original, and, you know, original stuff is usually better to go with, especially, you know, with Disney, you know, original Disney stuff like this. So yeah.
Okay, so that's a sell on Nostromo. Okay, so we only have two more, and folks, if they're like, I know I'm not including every individual thing. I'm including most of the things that we know about, but if there are things that you haven't seen here that you want us to talk about through the two videos, keep in mind this is part 2 of we did part 1 last night. So we've been going over a lot of concepts, or if there are things we haven't talked about, by all means, leave a comment, and, you know, you will get to them in the future. But Sandy, so let's talk about the fireworks factory. This would have been a really fun shooting ride, where essentially what you were doing is you would be shooting off fireworks out of like a rocket launcher type thing, and igniting other fireworks, and that was basically it. Very simple concept. And keep in mind, this was all like, there were no real fireworks involved. You know, it wasn't like, okay, let's have the guests go through real fireworks. You know, it was all controlled, like, basically like a shooting gallery, you know, like where one thing would trigger another thing. But the theme was like, you know, okay, you'd like trigger fireworks to bounce off of each other, and, you know, like, and Sandy, this is actually a concept that dates back to Discovery Bay, and it's one of the things I forgot to mention about Discovery Bay. It actually would have been a transitioning point between the Jules Verne part of the land and the Dope part of the land, would be this fireworks factory. Then they went
where would it be located?
In Discovery Bay, where we talked about with the Jules Verne, the time travel dinosaurs and all that.
Okay.
Like I said, it would have been kind of a transitioning point between the Jules Verne stuff and the Dumbo stuff in that land. And then also it was designed for Toontown at a certain period of time. And it was also designed for Pacific Wharf in California Adventure. They were considering putting it there.
Now what would have to be sacrificed in order to do this shooting gallery?
Well, let's see. Like I said, I mean, like, a small part of Star Wars land. And also, let's just say hypothetically, like, maybe it's a similar situation to the Toontown trolley and the Baby Herman coaster, where you would have to get rid of maybe the Mickey's Neighborhood part of Toontown to build this in Toontown.
No, I don't think it's worth it.
Or maybe, I think in California Adventure, you actually have the best case, where you would essentially just have to get rid of the Lucky Fortune Cookery, which is just kind of a pretty bland Chinese restaurant, and that would have been like the exterior, and then you would have a show building kind of like in back behind Paradise Pier.
Well, if they can put it somewhere out of sight that's not sacrificing anything, then sure, why not? I wouldn't want to see any part of, Toontown or any part of Star Wars Land, even though it doesn't really matter to me.
So you're not too into this idea.
No, it sounds really bland. Just a fireworks show, shooting gallery. It sounds really bland.
I think it would be fun.
Just like stuff bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
like different styles of fireworks. Like you'd have like the big ones, the smaller ones, the bottle rockets. Like I don't know. I see the potential there.
Well, maybe if they give it a really cool set, I might be down for it. But because I'm all about sets and everything's in rides and everything, you know that. But
of course,
I'm gonna have to say selling this because I'm not sure where it would be going, and I don't want to take any chances.
Okay, so that's a sell on the fireworks factory.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all good. Okay, one last one, Sandy. We're ending with a doozy. We're ending with one of the biggest unbuilt concepts that eventually got kind of bastardized into a concept that was built and now doesn't exist anymore. It is the Life Health Pavilion, which eventually became the Wonders of Life Pavilion at EPCOT, which eventually became a convention center at EPCOT.
Yeah.
Life Health Pavilion would have been the main ride would have been like essentially a Fantastic Voyage type ride where you would be on Omnimovers, but the Omnimovers would be themed to blood cells, red blood cells. And you would be going through the human body. What do you think of that?
That sounds really interesting.
A lot of concept art exists for it. Of course, they turned it into Body Wars, which I think is just a bastardization of that whole concept because it's essentially just like, hey, you like Star Wars? You like Star Tours?
Body Wars and Body Tours. What?
Body Wars essentially literally has the same exact programming as Star Tours, meaning it has the same exact movement as Star Tours. Like, the only thing different about that from Star Tours is the actual film. So, yeah. Like, Body Wars is not a quote-unquote e-ticket attraction that closed that we're missing, I don't think.
This sounds interesting. Would there be any practical effects to it, or just projections?
Oh yeah, it would all be practical effects.
Oh, it would. Okay, all right.
Oh, yeah,
this is back in the day, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It was back in the 70s, I want to say.
What would be sacrificed for it?
The Wonders of Life Pavilion. You want to know what was in the Wonders of Life Pavilion? Like I said, you had Body Wars. You ready for this, Sandy? I'm not sure you're ready for this.
No, yeah, go ahead.
The Making of Me. Do you want to wager a guess as to what The Making of Me is about?
Something that Disney probably shouldn't touch.
Yes, yes. Hey, kids, you like sex ed? You like Martin Short? You want to see Martin Short talk to you about sex ed? Then boy, do we have an attraction for you.
Yeah, let's ditch that stuff and put
the Life Health Pavilion.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and of course Life Health Pavilion, just to give credit where credit's due, that was done with Rolly Crump, Tony Baxter, and Jeff Burke were the three main designers on that. So
yeah, I like those two. I don't know who Jeff Burke is, but
Jeff Burke, he worked in he actually designed a lot of Phantom Manor with Tony Baxter. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, then yeah, that's a buy.
Okay, that's a buy for the Life Health Pavilion. All right. So Sandy, out of all the, oh yeah, we are. Out of all the attractions that we've talked about, which one, like, out of like through 2 parts, if you can remember back to last night, maybe if you can tell me 3 of them that, you know, if you would take over any others.
What, 3 that I like or 3 that I don't like?
Well, let's kind of play it like maybe the top 3 and the bottom 3.
All right, I'm not sure if I can remember the bottom 3. I know which ones I like though.
Okay.
I definitely like Museum of the Weird. That's definitely like the top of my list. With the downtown Toontown, I like that idea.
Sure.
Geyser Mountain. Those are my top 3 there.
Okay, cool. Museum of the Weird, Toontown Trolley and Baby Herman, and then also Geyser Mountain. Top choices. Good choices.
Yes.
Okay, in terms of bottom, Sandy, I would probably have to say Herbie the Love Bug is definitely a big sell.
Yeah, and also Disneyland America. That's a big no.
Disney's America. Disney's America for sure. Let me see. I'm trying to think of like another one that was like a big sell, but honestly, most of these weren't really big sells. If anything, they're just kind of like, nah, I don't really want to get rid of that.
Rainbow to Oz. Rainbow to Oz. Or Rainbow to Oz.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I to be honest with you, I'm a little bit more accepting of that one than you would be. Like, I would be curious to see Disney do a non-Disney IP that early in its history, just as kind of like an alternate timeline type thing. But okay,
yeah,
Return to Oz.
Would there be any animatronics in it? What decade was this?
It was the 1950s, so actually it would have probably been more like flat sets like you saw in the early Fantasyland stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you would have seen like high-tech pirate style animatronics.
Oh no, definitely not.
Yeah.
My view on it hasn't changed. So.
Okay. All right, Sandy. So thank you for coming on with me, man. Thank you for sticking it out for the 2 parts. I just wanted to do the 2 parts because there are definitely things on here, especially things like the Museum of the Weird, Geyser Mountain, the Life Health Pavilion, Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers that I knew people would be upset about if we didn't cover. So that's really why we made the second part. So yeah. Sandy. We will get back in touch soon because there will be a lot more of these. So, and I'm going to have like a rotating panel of people, but by all means, come back and talk about other attractions and other concepts if you want. I actually know the theme of the next project. I know something you don't know for people playing in the creator games. I know the theme of the next concept. I won't say it on air, but I'll talk to Sandy about it off air, see if he wants to come on for it. Sandy, any last words?
No, I had a great time doing this. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. So, Sandy, I need to ask you one more question. One more important question. Just it's so important. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
So, Sandy, you like Star Wars?